Greetings, fellow NickToons. Tiki here,
And BlueDragonFive.
and we're back for a fresh look at an old classic.
NickToons Movie
NickToons Movie
Month!
Month. You see, folks, early on in this channel's history, I attempted to review all the Nicktoons theatrical movies.
It did not go well. Mostly because Tiki was missing one key ingredient, a co-host.
So, with years of experience under our belt and the nostalgia for these movies burning brighter than ever, we thought this would be the best time to cover four of the most iconic Nickelodeon movies. And tonight, we're talking about the creative climax of the golden age of Nickelodeon, the Spongebob SquarePants movie on
NickToons Movie Month! Nick.
Nickelodeon. All right. Woo, boy. Okay, Dragon, this is the big one. This is the one that we've been waiting for, the one that we've been building up. SpongeBob SquarePants, the movie. My God. Bigger, spongier, more absorbent, says the marketing campaign.
Yes, the jaws of the Nicktoons movie lineup.
Oh yeah. So, Dragon, oh my God, I'm sure you have a ton of nostalgia for this, as do I. But I have one specific story that I want to tell, Dragon, because of course everyone knows the build up to this movie. Dragon, I love the poster for this movie with just the tagline that I just said: bigger, spongier, more absorbent. And just the yellow sponge with like SpongeBob's smile, like right, in the lower corner of it. Just like, it didn't tell you much. It just told you like, yeah, you're getting SpongeBob, folks.
Allow me to read a quote from the movie's box art, if I may, for a moment. The movie itself triumphs, thanks to renowned critic from the New York Times, A.O. Scott. Thanks, Scott.
I know A.O. Scott. He substituted for Richard Roper from time to time.
Look how far he's gone.
Right. Anyways.
Continue.
Yeah, so Dragon, the day this movie came out, I do remember from the trailers. I think this movie has a fantastic trailer. And there was one shot in particular that absolutely sold me. Like, I can't wait until this, because this, keep in mind, this was during an era where I was starting to get self-conscious about going to quote-unquote kids movies, an era that lasted maybe like 18 months. Thank God. Like, I got over that very quickly, and now I'm just like very proudly like, yep, I'm just going to go to every Disney movie that gets released in theaters because I'm the Disney guy, and people know I'm the Disney guy, and there's no shame in it. But, there was a period in time, Dragon, there was some growing pains there, so I wasn't sure I was going to see this movie in theaters, except for the shot of the Monty Python style hand that's coming down for SpongeBob and Patrick as they're running from it. Dragon, that shot in the trailer just absolutely sold me. Like, okay, I need to see this on the big screen. Like, that is something on a scale that we've never seen on the show before. And lo and behold, Dragon, I get there opening day. I asked to buy a ticket to the SpongeBob movie. You know what the guy behind the counter's response is?
What was his response, Tiki?
How old are you?
Oh, they had one of those guys. Oh.
I'm like, I'm 14, motherfucker, and I'm going to see the SpongeBob movie. Now sell me a ticket.
Just say that?
No, but, that's what I felt like saying.
That would have been like the best story ever if you said that.
No, I was just like, I'm 14.
Shame on those movie clerks. Shame on them.
I mean, especially because I had all this self-consciousness, Dragon. Like I said, this period of time, it did not last long in my life, but it was there where I was kind of, sort of self-conscious about going to kids' movies, in the theater. Honestly, Dragon, the movie that kind of sort of snapped me out of it was Ratatouille, to tell you the truth.
Really? I have a very profound Ratatouille moment myself, but go on. I don't want to bog us down with that. Keep going.
Yeah, no, just really quick with Ratatouille, that was the one where I was like, okay, holy crap, like there's more. I remember I saw Ratatouille, like an early screen of Ratatouille, and I was like, there's more adults in the theater here than kids, and the adults are just absolutely eating this up, and there's no shame in loving animation. I'm going to go to every animated movie I can get my hands on. So that's my profound Ratatouille thing.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Again, that's just so bizarre. I had a very profound moment with that movie myself. That's very interesting. Right.
We were watching Ratatouille. It was adorable. Okay, so I mean that's basically it, Dragon. Like, when I watched the movie, I knew right away. Like that pirate opening, Dragon. Say what you will about the movie itself. The movie itself is a lot of fun, from beginning to end. It's got kind of that Bluethian quality that the Rugrats movie had, which I'm sure we'll talk about with the commentary. But Dragon, I can't tell you how much I freaking love the pirate opening, man. It's so ingrained in my skull. I love it so much. Like, to me, that just absolutely defines the movie. So,
I believe me, I completely get it.
Uh-huh.
So I guess my nostalgia then, right?
Yeah.
All right. I've been a long time SpongeBob fan. Not since, like, again, I don't think I was there at the very beginning. I was definitely there during like the first season. That's probably how long I've been invested in SpongeBob, back in the good old days of SpongeBob. Not those really rough years in the mid to late 2000s. But boy, man, I was I was in long time Nickelodeon fan from the old days, VHS tapes. You're going through all that to give perspective, because we are reaching the end of kind of our theme month at the moment. Where you have you got the Rugrats, Rocko's Modern Life, Cat Dog, like all those were hallmarks of my Nickelodeon experience. And SpongeBob, I felt, was in the same vein, but it was. It was in the same vein as the production reflects. It is kind of in the same vein of something like Rocco, but it was kind of brought into a more kind of more of like a Rugrats notoriety. It was kind of a Nick show that had like kind of the cleverness and kind of the smart writing of Rocco, but it had kind of that mass appeal and kind of sweetness to it that something like the Rugrats, or even just like simplistic concept like Cat Dog, would have. It basically had that Nickelodeon stamp on it. It always kind of drew me to SpongeBob, and my favorite elements of SpongeBob have always been the Krusty Krab segments. Those have always been my favorite parts. And honestly, it's kind of like a similar thing I have with Home Improvement. I love the Tool Time segments of Home Improvement most, and I could just watch the show of those. And very similar thing with SpongeBob. I just love this earnest guy going to work. He loves what he does. I love characters who enjoy what they do, which I don't mean to keep jumping all over here. Again, so I kind of like with characters like Deadpool. I love guys who take pride in their work. It's a great character trait. I've always had that with SpongeBob. In this movie, so again, when this movie was announced, they would come into the big screen like other Nickelodeon films have done before. And I've gone over in the previous installments, kind of my early days of HBO memories, when I'd either tape them when they using the VCR kiddies, using the VCR, using the recorder to tape them or to view them on HBO. Back in the day, because that's what you did. Or I had the orange VHS tape eventually.
Oh, that orange VHS tape. Gotta love it.
I remember with SpongeBob, I had the I don't know if you remember this, Tiki. Do you remember they were marketing this thing back in the day? Band Geeks was an episode, was kind of the Band Geeks is one of the most popular SpongeBob episodes ever, one of the most marketable. And they did these like mini DVD
Game Boy Advance ones.
I played the Game Boy game, not for the movie, but there was a SpongeBob Game Boy Advance game.
No, I'm saying these weren't games. I'm saying there were literally like Game Boy Advance cartridges that would have like 2 SpongeBob episodes on them. Essentially,
but they were discs. Like you put like a little mini, like a small disc in, but it was the same principle. Yes, it was like a little. The name escapes me.
Could they be for PSP?
That's the thing. I don't think it was. It was.
I don't know. I don't want to dwell on it.
PSP. Anyway, yeah. So I'm getting at here. The point is, Sponge has always been very present. I remember even, I think I got like the novelization of this thing when it came out, just by serendipity's sake. Maybe like I read, like flipped through a few pages of it, kind of read it way back when. So I was getting, just because I was so hyped for this movie coming out, kind of happened upon the trailer. I was like, oh my god, they're doing it as a movie. It's going to be that well produced Nickelodeon kind of Mask of the Phantasm, highest quality SpongeBob type animation. Basically when the shows that we love get the budgets that we the fans feel they deservedly, basically see it reflected within the budget for the production. That's kind of what we mean when we keep like throwing around terms like phantasm or blue meth products, in case anyone's still scratching their heads.
Right.
At this point.
Which I feel like all four of the movies that we've talked about have kind of reflected that seal of quality.
And honestly, I remember even getting this on DVD.
Maybe not Jimmy Neutron.
Anyway, there's still a little charm with the movie. But again, we don't want to split hairs. We're not going to split hairs on it. The point is, yeah, again, SpongeBob was a great theatrical experience. I remember, what I more so remember with it than the theatrical experience, to be honest, is the DVD release. Because aside from my disappointment that there was no commentary, which we're going to amend momentarily, folks, it did have a great number of features. Like there's this feature with Jean-Michel Cousteau. It was called Case of the Spongebob. It was like this great little, very much like Finding Nemo, which came out, Nemo came out a year before this, I believe.
Yeah, this was 2004. Nemo was 2003.
But essentially, the DVDs came out and might have come out in close proximity, because I can't remember if SpongeBob came out in 2004, then they both would have been out on DVD in the same.
Well, keep in mind, I think SpongeBob came out in November of 2004, so the DVD would have been 2005.
Well, yeah, if that's the case, then yeah, the point is there's still like a year difference, but you get what I'm get what I'm saying. So the point is, I did have I had a great experience with this movie, and also kind of retroactively with the movie. And always I've come back to it. It's always been like a fond reflection, like what SpongeBob really meant to me. So this movie has always been kind of like it's a good hallmark of SpongeBob. So there's a lot of goodwill I have.
I feel like for a while there was a little bit of an underappreciation for just how good this movie was. People always said oh, SpongeBob kind of died with the movie, but I feel like for a while there was sort of people didn't really acknowledge that this movie is just such a rock solid, as we said, the blue meth of SpongeBob. But Dragon, I think it pleases me that more and more with each passing day, I feel like the movie gets the credit it deserves, whereas something like the Wild Thornberrys movie, unfortunately, is going to kind of remain in the dust in the realms of obscurity. I feel like this movie is sort of one of those ones where, I feel like this is probably the best success story of the Nickelodeon movies in terms of it got big box office. People still talk about it. People still quote it. It's highly remembered. It gets better with age.
And real quick, I just remember what it was. I just had a flashback while we were talking. It was Video Now. They had this thing, Video Now. They might include a Rocket Power episode. There was Band Geeks, and there might have been another SpongeBob episode. There's a personal video display or something. It was a PV. It was released by Hasbro. It was a little personal video thing. It was like a mini DVD player on the go. Essentially, that's what it was. So Video Now. I'm convinced that's what the name was. Sorry.
Well, you lost me on that one, but
well, again, it's I guess obscure by today's standards. Like a little tiny screen. It's like that television Rolf had in Ed, Edd n Eddy. It was like that really tiny screen, but it's like handheld. Anyway. Sorry.
All right.
Yes. So background for this.
Background, please.
Okay, here's the background, folks. Really interesting. So I'm going to give you Cliff Notes as the genesis of SpongeBob, because again, this is kind of a reflection of SpongeBob as a whole. So Stephen Hillenburg, of course, very pivotal in the creation of SpongeBob. He was on Rocco. It's where he started Rocco. A lot of guys in the animation industry got their starts. Mainly, almost the entirety of the SpongeBob crew got their starts in Rocco's Modern Life, which doesn't surprise me with the quality.
Mm-hmm.
He was on Rocco, and he directed a lot of episodes of Rocco. He was a story man and director on the majority of the Rocco episodes. That's the main thing Stephen Hillenburg was really known for there. And he had a really great friendship with Joe Murray, the creator of Rocco, who essentially kind of threw him a bone on that because he knew Hillenburg. He showed a lot of promise, and he was kind of in debt essentially. Kind of put him on the show to help his friend out. There was really a beautiful mentorship going on there.
Nice.
So this Rocco was the first in-house show of Nickelodeon, by the way, because they always outsourced it beforehand. It was the first one produced like by Nickelodeon directly.
Sure.
So, so SpongeBob comes from Steven Hillenburg. He developed a comic based on his time as a marine biologist. So that's why he knew a lot of the oceanography, knew a lot of knew a lot of the marine biology and kind of the ocean centric stuff. He did this comic that was kind of a parody of it was called the Intertidal Zone. It was called the Intertidal Zone. It was kind of like a comic strip form of SpongeBob, like mixed with the Twilight Zone a little bit, like Tales from the Deep almost.
Oh
And
man.
uh, and basically turned that into a show with the Rocco crew. And he did this famous, and I love it in the halls of Nickelodeon. It's like one of the legends that echoes through the halls of Nickelodeon. I love this. That he did a pitch, unlike any other pitch in Nickelodeon that they loved. It's almost like Kevin Smith pitching Superman Lives to all the executives,
Uh-huh.
or like having to like, explain how he felt about the really terrible script, essentially, where Hillenburg, he came in like a Hawaiian shirt, he had like a ukulele, this little like aquarium, and like maquettes of the characters. And he basically, the word is, the story is like he went there, he gave like the best pitch ever of like what's like probably the first episode, and he acted it out with with the whole thing.
Nice, nice.
And they kept calling him back like you got to pitch that again, man. We love that. So Nickelodeon, where they were loving Hillenburg. And just getting to the movie now is to jump right forward into the meat of it here. SpongeBob, of course, big success. Nickelodeon, it's unprecedented how much money Nickelodeon really made off of SpongeBob in the long run. I'm going to blow your mind with that at the end of this, but there was a lot of fear doing a feature-length SpongeBob episode. That was what Hillenburg was afraid of. Like, can you really do like SpongeBob going jellyfishing for 90 minutes? That was his big fear going into this movie. Like, I don't know if a SpongeBob episode is going to track for like a feature length. And this is, I think, is beautiful. This is why I'm so psyched that we kind of saved this for the end. Honestly, I think it's beautiful that Hillenburg actually he was watching Iron Giant and Toy Story, the original Toy Story, from the sounds of things, with his son, and that kind of changed his tune on it. He basically saw, okay, I mean, he basically saw kind of the betters in the field of feature length animation that kind of inspired him, kind of got his goat there. Like, yeah, I can do this. I'm
Yeah,
ready,
yeah.
essentially. And he basically what he did is he kind of screened the roots of SpongeBob, which of course is a lot of Laurel and Hardy, a lot of Jerry Lewis, a lot of kind of silent comedy that you see a lot in animation, especially with the Pixar films. I'm just kind of bridging off the Toy Story theme there, but regardless, he screened Laurel and Hardy, Chaplin, just to make sure they refreshed themselves in the tone and the vibe of the show, which is kind of SpongeBob. Essentially, he's an old school comedian. That's really what SpongeBob is.
Right.
Uh, they kind of carried over what they did in the show, which remarkably, and I was surprised in the research here, they didn't have scripts. They just did boards. They never had any scripts for SpongeBob. They just did the boards, and in the case of the movie, they did animatics, which is kind of remarkable. We always kind of focus on it goes from script to script to script to board to animatic to previs and et cetera, et cetera. And there was their mission statement was they use as much 2D and hand drawn animation as possible. You got to remember this is post Jimmy Neutron, where again CG, and eventually they kind of went the way of 3D with the SpongeBob movie sequel. But again, the point is they're really trying to.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even that was just a gimmick.
True, yeah. Anyway, with their main animation house was Rough Draft in South Korea, and they did Rough Draft is known. They have various branches. Rough Draft in Korea, and they've done some remarkable work. I'll highlight when we go into the movie later on. They did this hilarious prank. I don't know if I might have. When I read this, I kind of got a vague memory of this. I don't know if you got this either, Tiki, but they did a Finding Nemo related prank on the release of this movie, because what they did is they leaked a false plot line that was essentially a ripoff of Finding Nemo. It basically said, I don't, because again, I don't know, I vaguely remember this. It might have been like on Wikipedia.
I kind of
back
vaguely
that's the
remember
thing,
something like that too.
Where basically Patrick was he was captured and taken
Yeah,
to
right,
a fish
right.
shop, and it was SpongeBob had to rescue him, which essentially was kind of vaguely the little premise of Finding Nemo. Fish separated from other fish and taken to another location.
Oh god.
They were kind of messing with kind of like messing with people back in the day. Oh, that Nickelodeon.
Well, I think we can all agree this is a better Finding Nemo ripoff than Shark Tale.
God, yes. God, yes. Anyway, hilarious marketing. So I had no idea about this. It just cracked me up. They had Burger King tie-ins with their marketing. You know,
well, as do all great Nickelodeon movies, Dragon. I mean, come on now.
it's true. Scratch and sniff. That's for a later time. But yes, Burger King. The two things at Burger King. Steven Hillenburg. I respect the heck out of Steven Hillenburg so much because Steven Hillenburg, what he did was, you know, they wanted SpongeBob to broil, like flame broil the Krabby Patties, like do it the Burger King, however Burger King makes their burgers. He wanted them to animate that, you know, in a new fashion opposed to the grill, and Steven Hillenburg wouldn't budge an inch on that.
Nice.
And like the pre-prepared animation, like he would not budge at all on his. He defended his character to tooth and nail. That's the thing I respect the heck out of Hillenburg for. But hilariously, Burger King, what they did do is they had these giant inflatable SpongeBobs on the roof of all the Burger Kings.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of became a media sensation because a lot of them were stolen.
Oh no!
And you essentially, like, they made like a big thing out of it, like, you know, like they're literally, I kid you not, I'm not joking here. There were ransom demands for the giant inflatable SpongeBobs. Some of them were sold on eBay, and some of them were they were literally.
Now that sounds like just a great quirky documentary waiting to happen, Dragon.
I know, right? God, it's. I mean, there's literally like a documentary on Netflix about a guy who essentially had his leg ransomed. So I mean, I could imagine this absolutely
right.
ransoming a number of giant inflatable SpongeBobs. Okay, so at the end of the day, folks. So, end of the day, movie was very successful, and famously, as Steven Hillenburg's, I think as all of us felt, and I think looking at it, Steven Hillenburg, I felt vindicated just learning that Steven Hillenburg felt the same way whenever I found this out. I forget when we looked into this, but he did intend this to be the ending. Like Steven Hillenburg himself wanted this to be the ending of SpongeBob.
And to be fair, like canonically, this is the end. Like this is like there's no other point in SpongeBob that comes after, or you know, that comes after this. Like this is the last thing that happens in the canon of SpongeBob.
I mean, you're right, and again, it's hard to refute that because again, anything that's what would kind of deter any viewers after this, where they're still seeing new episodes. Where okay, wait a minute, where's the Krusty Krab 2? Like myself, like that always bugged me after the movie. No Krusty Krab 2.
Right.
But so again, so that was Hillenburg always intended this to be the ending. Essentially, he left after this, if not shortly after this. I forget if I want to say he left directly after the movie. I'm pretty sure, but Nickelodeon wanted to keep it going because SpongeBob was a money printing machine. And while again, we definitely saw the quality decline as it went forward. Nickelodeon did have somewhat of a point because you know how much SpongeBob was worth. Is worth at the very least 10 years later, 10 years after the movie. You know how rich it made Nickelodeon.
With a B, I'm guessing.
Yes, with a B.
What?
$8 billion. Just
wow.
It's 10 years. Again, of keeping that decision to keep SpongeBob on the air, you know, it made a large majority of there. There's a percentage. I think I don't know if it's 60%, but it did make a large percentage.
Like that's just in the 10 years. That's not even counting like the marketing spree and like when SpongeBob ruled the earth and everything.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's like through the course of like since like up to 2014, it was like $8 billion, and at least I want to say 60 something percent. That's how much of Nickelodeon's earnings SpongeBob made up for.
Dragon, that's rather horrifying, I must say.
I know. You got to remember,
I mean, it kind of makes you think. It kind of makes you double think the Teen Titans Go situation.
It is the longest running Nick series. It is kind of Nickelodeon's answer to The Simpsons in many regards.
Sure.
All right, so of course, a yellow protagonist. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all sure. That's the background. More as we go forward.
All right, Dragon. So in terms of the commentary, folks, we're going to do our level best to make this a running conversation that you don't necessarily have to be watching along to get the gist of. But, you know, if you want to watch along with us, you're welcome to do so and go ahead and get whatever device or, streaming platform you're watching this on. Get your timestamp to 000 and much like Lethal Weapon, we're going to go on go. We're not going to go on 3. We're going to go on go. Is that right, Dragon?
Yeah, well, we're learning from Lethal Weapon. Those guys always screw up the countdown. We're doing it right. You know, we're going to go on go, not wait until wait, do you mean go on 3 or do you mean go on 2?
We're going on go. We're going on go.
Keeping it simple. So when you hear go, folks, you go.
All right. Okay, folks. So the SpongeBob SquarePants movie in 1, 2, 3, go.
Paramount. It's an old friend.
I remember when they used to be a theme park business.
I remember. So coming up, we're going to have a great unconventional opening for SpongeBob that fits the use of live action. Again, I love how I think the mark of a great movie based on a series is a movie that encapsulates the style and humor of the show, if not doing the Peanuts approach of basically just summarizing all the stuff you loved about those specials or those characters. In this case, it is canonical, so it is again, it's an ending, but at the same time, it's recapping all the stuff you loved with the show, which I think makes it a more fulfilling experience.
Dragon, do you think it would have been better if Patchy would have been in the crowd here?
The fan of me really wanted Patchy, but again, what I respect though is that they homage and they use the same voice for Potty later on, so they are homaging Patchy and Potty with these pirates. At least they're homaging them, but yes, it would have been great to see them there. I guess it would have. Maybe they wanted to maintain a cinematic quality, but then again, it's like if you're doing something for the show, why not just have your characters from the show in it? You know.
I mean, these pirates are pretty damn corny to begin with.
Yeah, but they're fun. I don't know. It's just they feel more piratey than Tom Kenny as a pirate. As much as I love Tom,
you're right.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's what the choice was at the end of the day. I think that's why they didn't go with Patchy, because again, you'd have to know who Patchy is from like Shanghai to really fully appreciate it.
I love this, Dragon. I love this.
Yes, just the grand absurdity here. And again, this is like stuff from Frankendoodle or again Patchy the Pirate, where again we have like live action, like Doug Lawrence at the beginning as the artist drawing the scene. He drops the pencil. My pencil. It's a wonderful use of live action. This is how you blend methods. This is how you blend live action with animation, hand drawn, and of course, it's kind of like placing them with later on as we're going to see them kind of interlocking universes in that regard. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a great opening, great use of the SpongeBob theme song.
Yeah, wonderful use of the theme song. We've kind of been talking about how these different movies, like the Rugrats movie, just straight up opens with, like, hey, look, it's the Rugrats movie opening. While Thornberrys is kind of like an HD recreation of the opening, and this is just like it's on another level entirely.
Oh, real quick, I know the ship just passed. They're in the theater, but I just wanted to mention because I know Tiki was going to love this fact. That ship, Tiki, was from the original Treasure Island and from Dead Man's Chest.
Oh,
it was from Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
Get out of here!
Seriously, it's the same ship.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So I know you love this part of the opening.
Oh my God, I love this opening so much. It's such a fun. The movie within movie is a fun conceit in itself. And that opening was great, but oh my God, this foreshadows SpongeBob's arc so well. But again, I love just kind of placing SpongeBob in an action movie. He's coming, he's owning the scene. I love he's like smoking with bubbles. It's like SpongeBob like we've never seen. It's like this is like SpongeBob on the big screen moment of like SpongeBob is in his own like third act of an action movie here. The scene is so well written, so well timed. The comedy is so perfect. It's exaggerated in like Mr. Krabs, he's like the flailing business owner on the outside. Again, we're treating this very mundane issue, and again, like a mismatch order, which for SpongeBob would be a catastrophe. So it's like it's translating into his dream logic perfectly, and at the same time, it's hysterical and off the walls bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
And this editing here with the say cheese.
Family Phil.
I want to hear about that family, Phil. Again, this cheese editing gets me every time. We're like, oh my God,
yeah.
Just like kind of the 70s. We have like the Rocky 70s ending here. They all rush up. Da, da, da. Oh man! So again, as much as Tiki can't say enough nice things about the pirate opening with the jovial pirates, which by the way are my kind of pirates. I love jovial pirates, like swashbuckling pirates like
Oh
that,
yeah, sure,
opposed to your
sure.
opposed to the drunkard pirates. But yeah, that's the same way he feels about that. I feel about that kind of 70s opening we just had.
uh,
Also, fun fact about the narrator, because it doesn't really appear that much in the movie, as fair I say. Tom Kenny, his narrator is based on Jacques Cousteau, John Michel's.
yes, yes.
And again, in that Case of SpongeBob DVD
I'm
features.
very familiar with Cousteau Dragon because Bill Murray's The Life Aquatic is kind of based on Cousteau. It's sort of
Oh,
like an unofficial autobiography on him.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's not playing Cousteau, he's playing Steve Zissou, but Steve Zissou is very much based in Cousteau.
Yeah, and real quick about that dream is again story wise because we're going to see it unfold. And again, I think on the rewatch, I really appreciate about the dream I've just enjoyed on comedic levels. That again, it foreshadows SpongeBob's arc of being he wants to be treated as an adult. He wants to be the man. He's imagining himself as the manager of the Krusty Krab in that dream, and he's saving the day at the Krusty Krab. Which again, these are it seeds in SpongeBob's arc without actually being like directly what. I love that it's clever enough to seed that in there.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a mistake in that opening, by the way, and people have called them on it, but they've just rolled with the craziness. Is that all those Employee of the Month, placards he has on the wall? He said basically it's like a discrepancy where it should be days, but they're basically he has these 374, which should mean Employee of the Day, really. But it's months. Essentially, if it's months, that means he's there for 31 years.
Oh God, right, right.
Essentially, so again, it has to like I think they were thinking of 374 days or something. It's but yeah,
Oh, poor Squidward.
yeah. And again, folks, we have like a good old Squidward, not the Squidward who's being tortured or like Squidward who's just being really mean. He's the perfect kind of like he's like
Dragon, this is the introduction of Squidward's bike, I believe, and the lay down bike.
Yeah, it's the recumbent bicycle.
Fits his personality so well.
It does. So just to give credit, because we don't talk about SpongeBob a whole lot. Roger Bumpus plays Squidward, and what I love is that with the adults, again, if SpongeBob is modeled after Pee Wee Herman meets Jerry Lewis, basically the old comedians. Along with like Stan Laurel. I love that there are other comedic homages with our adult characters. I've always gone on one of the reasons Mr. Krabs is my favorite character because he's very much based on the comedy of Jack Benny. And Squidward, Roger Bumpus, he plays Squidward as sounding like Jack Benny, and he's Mr. Wilson from Dennis the Menace. That's what he plays as Squidward. That's a great combination. And I think that's Squidward at his best. When he's the neighbor, you understand, you sympathize with his frustration. At least you get it.
Oh yeah.
So where you understand where he's coming from at the same time, it's like, okay, yeah, he's a glutton for punishment, but you never want to go one way, left or right on that. I don't know why. Perch Perkins is fun here. I don't know if it's like because it's D. Bradley Baker or why. I just love that later on Plankton's going to have this line, anything for you, Perch.
Anything for you, Perch.
I just like that's like the barometer of restaurant success. He's getting an interview with Perch Perkins. I can't get enough of Doug Lawrence's, Mr. Lawrence, as he's professionally called, story man extraordinaire from Rocco, voice of Filbert. I can't get enough of him as Plankton. Just Plankton he's a delight, always.
Yeah, and of course that is one of the nice things about Sponge Out of Water is that they give a lot of screen time to Plankton. But he's got a good storyline here too.
Yeah, here's something kind of fun. From what I understand, this is the first time Karen's on this little little stand. She's on the little wheel cart here. That was the first time in this movie, and they brought that into the show afterwards. That's why she's designed like that going forward.
Huh, okay.
That's what I heard.
I wouldn't have guessed that was the first time, but
yeah, because usually she was like landlocked into like the lab before.
I guess you're right. Yeah, usually she was like in the computer, and now she's kind of mobile. Good point.
Okay. I appreciate a good filing cabinet joke. I do.
Oh God!
And, I tell you, Plan Z. I laughed so hard when I happened upon Plan Z. It's lemon scented. It's just the idea that he's gone through all of these other plans with the Krabs Value Seeker formula, and he forgot to let. He's that stupid that he could. He's so smart yet he's so stupid that he forgot there was a Plan Z. And again, this is just playing in the planktons again. He's the great dramatic villain. He's the great dramatic college-educated villain, and he's always so angry yet so diminutive. He's so Napoleonic. But at the same time, he can be so stupid here and there. It's great.
Oh yeah.
I tell you that scraping animation still gets me. That's just happened there. It's like, it's so horrifying.
Right.
And here again, this is where you get the fodder for SpongeBob out of water here, where these two characters do have a great they're great opposites, SpongeBob and Plankton. I think you're absolutely right, TV. Oh, by the way, so I can mention it too. With the Krusty Krab 2, I love the idea of the Krusty Krab 2. One, it's a great premise for a movie, and secondly, I really love that because again, I love all the Krusty Krab stuff. I love Mr. Krabs, love all of that. But what's so great about the Krusty Krab 2, and it still never gets old for me, is the ridiculous, hilarious gag.
It's literally just built right there.
Is the fact that Mr. Krabs is so successful, he is franchising, but he is franchising next door. Franchise, boy.
Oh God.
God, it's
that's right, Mr. Krabs. You want a franchise?
It's just the fact that SpongeBob, even if he becomes manager, he'd have to run back and forth between the two places. Well, again, we don't know. I doubt
dollars for this.
I paid $10. But yeah, you know what else? We never again. If this was supposed to be the last, again, it is supposed to be the last one. You never know if like the unseen stories they didn't have to worry about were going to be okay. Well, if we have two Krusty Krabs, he's going to bring on more staff. We'll have new characters in this Krusty Krab. Again, a show we never want to tell stories of because that would defeat the purpose. But yeah, we'll let people fill their own gaps. It's not like we're going to keep going after this.
Oh. So I don't know. One of the things that bothers me is like Mr. Krabs clearly sees that SpongeBob's overeager, and yet he still goes on this like super tease, like he's a hard worker. His name starts with an S.
Again, he's so Pee Wee Herman. You get to see those Pee Wee Herman-esque qualities of SpongeBob. There's the guy who's just not quite getting the subtleties right there.
Right.
But again, this is a nice scene there. Mr. Krabs, he's letting them down, but he's trying to let them down easy. Again, he's not realizing the folly in what he's saying here. Because again, but on some level, I do kind of get it. Where again, Squidward does seem to have the man. Yeah, he has seniority. First off, he does have seniority because Squidward was there before SpongeBob, and he is more of a. I could buy this. Mr. Krabs might trust Squidward more, but again, SpongeBob loves the job more than any guy on this planet. So he absolutely, SpongeBob deserves it.
Yeah, whereas Squidward literally is just like so blasé about the promotion in general. He's just like, yeah, whatever, yawn. And
again, this is not the low of lows, but it's like the Act 1. Again, I forget the name of this, but it's that kind of the. Basically, it's like I guess it's our depressing, inciting incident. I guess that's probably the term.
To tell you the truth, I think the King Trident thing is more the inciting incident.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just trying to think of like what the I can't really think what the proper name is for it though. Here's let me look at this real quick. So again, Patrick he's wonderfully characterized in the movie. Let's not again we have to appreciate that while we can because SpongeBob with Patrick in SpongeBob after this movie, Patrick suffered the most out of any character. He really did. He became a monster. I'm not exaggerating that, folks. He became like.
No, you're really not, Dragon. Do you have any specific examples you'd like to cite on that?
There's too many examples I could cite with that. Like the whole the site. He literally tossed food at SpongeBob intentionally. It's like to mock him in a public crowd. He has I think the go-to has been when he basically SpongeBob. He says, "Oh, SpongeBob, I'll give you this card," and he damages the card throughout the whole special. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy trading card, and then he reveals that he had the other 4 rare ones, and he just tortured him for nothing. So again, Patrick is sadistic starfish in those later episodes. I want to emphasize in the later episodes. So with that again, I think Patrick is wonderfully characterized here. You know, he's just like Patrick's on his game. However, I will say this one knock against him, though, minorly in comparison. The nudity with Patrick, it's a cheap.
Also, all the stuff with Patrick and Mindy just makes me really uncomfortable.
It doesn't bother me. I was like, yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, man. I think it's super out of character.
I'll say this. It bothered me a lot. It bothered me the least when I first saw it. Obviously, it bothered me the least when I first saw it. Now it's...
To tell you the truth, Dragon, I'm kind of the opposite. Like, when I was a kid, it didn't really bother me, but now it's just like... I guess maybe because of the recent current political landscape. It's just like, all
I'm gonna say is I didn't really read that into this. I still don't think there's enough there to really support that. That's just my 2 cents. Just bear in mind, but it's. I'm saying I still don't see that. I don't see it transferring into this, even today. But because again, it's just these. It seems harmless. I don't know. I mean, here in this movie, it seems like he's.
I mean, look, we'll get to specific examples when it comes to Patrick. There's 2 scenes in particular that I'm like, oh god.
So here was a pet peeve. Again, it's like a series transfer into the movie thing, and I get the change now, but back then I just racked my brain. So we have King Neptune and Mindy. So King Neptune, we had met Neptune in SpongeBob. He was voiced by John O'Hurley, Mr. Peterman from SpongeBob. John O'Hurley, he did Neptune. He looked quite a bit different. He had a full head of hair too, and and he was great. And so I'm going to this movie. They're saying King Neptune, and it's Jeffrey Tambor as a hilarious Neptune, but at the same time, to
be fair, Jeffrey Tambor. I mean, he's a veteran voice actor. He's in he's on a lot of great stuff. So he does bring a presence to this movie.
Yeah. And again, initially it bugged me with Neptune because again we saw King Neptune, but again, honestly, the difference here is that, and the reason they changed it, I fear, is they figured it would have been a rehash. We already told that story. We did the god version of Neptune. Here they're doing a king version of Neptune. So one, he's not a god like he was there, that's the main difference. And secondly, it's just he's. Again, it seemed to be for the best. In retrospect, it was a change for the best.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Goofy Goober, Dragon.
Yeah, I liked Goofy Goober. I thought it was a great. I love the set. I love the bar. I love that there's a nut bar while they have like this this kid ice cream parlor on the main floor. I love we have this depressing pan over to SpongeBob crying his eyes out at the bar. I love an idea of an ice cream bar that is treated like an actual bar. I think that's great.
And this is the first scene where things in the animation really go off the rails with there's a lot of moments in this movie where we go off the rails, Dragon, and this is one of them. This is like kind of the first moment of like, okay, we're gonna see some crazy stuff in this movie with the ice cream overdose.
Now let me explain. I can explain where the origin of that ice cream gag, by the way. And I didn't look this up. I know this. All right, believe me. In Rocko's Modern Life, and this is why I know this. In Rocko's Modern Life, they did kind of the ice cream hangover there, where Filbert, the Doug Lawrence character Filbert, he had a bachelor party, and they went to like this great, awesome kind of. It was like a plane, but you go inside the plane. It's like an ice cream bar on the inside. And next morning they had like a hangover from the bachelor party, but again they were eating ice cream the whole night. So that's where they got the idea of the ice cream hangover from.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love they kind of brought that here, and they kind of went nuts with it.
Oh yeah. Oh they and I love how miserable the bartender is.
Yeah, I just wait. I just love the chorus of waiter. Waiter.
And then of course when they get on stage, like my 2 best friends, Patrick
and this big
peanut guy. It's like, I love how they're at Goofy Goobers and they don't even remember the name of the star character at Goofy.
I love this. It could just be a reuse of a design. I like to think you'll notice the guy playing the piano. It's the same look as the ice cream bartender. I like to think he's also. I want to say he's the same guy who's that has to play the piano while he's serving people.
Oh God! Oh, that's amazing.
I've been to ice cream places, Tiki, and they do have those things where some of them, believe it or not, it's psychotic, but they do it. Some like Cold Stone, they're forced to sing at times.
No, I know. Man-eating Wreath works at Farrell's, so he's kind of familiar with that sort of stuff too.
Again, I love this here. We're with SpongeBob. We're seeing a level of size SpongeBob we don't really see before, and I'm not talking about like crappy episodes like the abrasive side. I'm talking about like a likable SpongeBob who is being brought to a your heart goes out to him. Like again, now he's a bitter drunk over Mr. Krabs. Like I love that he's the drunk who's remembering. Like, yeah, I'm mad at Mr. Krabs. I dedicated the best years of my life to that guy, and he won't even promote me.
Hmm.
Again, like the design on King Neptune and everything are just I really like our new characters. And Tiki, I know what you're gonna say later on, so I'm gonna like kind of address a little here. I'm gonna say this. I we don't service enough of our favorites from SpongeBob, of our other characters from SpongeBob. They take a back seat aside from our main four characters, let's say, SpongeBob, Patrick, Mr. Krabs, and Squidward. Well, and Plankton, but he's the bad guy. So I have our four characters like Sandy, Mrs. Puff. They don't really kind of take a back seat. But I really like our new characters to kind of get them to focus on in the movie.
I'm not big on Mindy Dragon. I never have been.
I get like Mindy's hit or miss. I mean, she's fine. Like again, I'm not bothered by Mindy, but
Yeah, like I hate to use this terminology, Dragon, but Mindy's always kind of been like my go-to example of a Mary Sue.
I don't know if that exactly applies. I get what you're saying though. I get it's like she's kind of like she's plot conveniency over character.
Very much so, and I don't know. I mean, she's literally just like inserted into the movie so that we can have a movie, you know?
Yeah, I got you there. You're not wrong with that. It was remarkable. That's Scarlett Johansson, age 19. Did you know that?
Oh, Jesus Christ, really?
I know, right? It's
Wow.
crazy.
That is crazy.
I know. It's like I vaguely remember it was Scarlett Johansson, but I didn't know how. Again, the years fly by, man. They just do.
Oh, that really makes me feel old.
But I'll say this: honestly, it's the mustache. It's the mustache scene later on that kind of sells me on Mindy more. But I mean, you're right. Compared to out of the three new characters, not counting the Cyclops, she is the weak link. But again, not an offensive weak link.
Mm.
It's kind of it's a symbol of like we can't do it too long a film. We can't do too long a movie where we can showcase everyone. We just have to kind of our new characters are kind of necessary for the movie's plot. So that's kind of it's where we're at on it. So
I mean, you're not wrong, but by the same token, I feel like something like the Rugrats movie showcased a lot more of the main cast and had a better distribution of screen time.
you do have a point there. You got a point there. But at the same time, they only need to introduce one new character.
Nah.
But you're right. You're not wrong. Again, just this drunken rant here. It's again like SpongeBob walking at the worst possible time to really kind of tell off his boss here. Again, Mr. Krabs he's on the chopping block right now. My one problem with this, and this is a great payoff for SpongeBob, you're just kind of telling off Mr. Krabs. It's a funny joke, but my issue in retrospect is that we kind of shrug it off too easy. Because SpongeBob tells Mr. Krabs off, and then he kind of sobers up instantly. He says, "Oh, King Neptune, you don't have to. I appreciate the gesture. You don't have to fry a guy on my account."
I do like the moment where SpongeBob just instantly jumps out of it, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm not. In retrospect, I was a little mixed on it, but it is a great at the core. SpongeBob, of course, is a wonderful character. He's not gonna like root for his boss to be fried just because he screwed him over.
Exactly.
So it is perfectly in character. I'm just saying it does feel like kind of a snap like that, but by the same token, it is in character. So it's kind of a catch-22 that way,
And oh man, Dragon, just workplace drama and promotions and worrying and jockeying for positions. It's don't you hate it? Don't you just hate it?
By the way, the My Eyes gag. What do you think about? I like the bald runner. I think it's good.
I love the My Eyes thing. I love it.
By the way, there's a fact I uncovered. So Fred, there's a fish named Fred. Now Fred the fish He's the my leg guy. He says my leg.
My
It's Doug
legs!
Lawrence. It's Doug Lawrence saying my leg, and he didn't say my leg, but that's the same fish. Fred said my eyes. My eyes.
Oh, that's great.
My God, Tambor's such a good actor, man. I tell you, it's like I can't get enough.
Oh,
of
he's
him.
wonderful.
He has such great resonance, and later on, this is the scenes that these are the scenes that I think sell me more on Minnie, because one, you have the mustache scene. Later on, we're gonna have the stalling scene, which I'm sure we're both going to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this too is just kind of cute here, where she's saying, "Look, this guy just wants to save his boss," and again, these it's like it's the teenage daughter trying to rein in her iron fisted father. That's nice.
And of course, Ryan, you'll have to apologize because I'm kind of lagging behind you a little bit.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, I think Mindy has her redeeming qualities. But again, weak link out of the three characters by all means. Again, I don't want to linger on that. Sorry. Yeah. I love
just like, to me, Dragon, the whole bit where Patrick's just like, "You're hot." I'm just like that. That to me is not something that Patrick Star would ever say.
I think okay, I get where you're coming from on that. Now you're right. It does. I guess it does sound out of character for Patrick. Now you mentioned, yeah, because he's never really shown romantic interest ever, really. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I'll concede you on that. It is out of character, but it doesn't offend me. I'll give you that. So you're right. It's out of character. It doesn't track with what Patrick usually does. But then again, he's never really met a character like Mindy before, so it's you're not wrong, but at the same time, has he ever met another character?
Now, the gag that comes up a little later in the movie that's funnier, but still kind of like a little cringy, is the whole like, "Mindy, did you see my underwear?
Yeah.
Did you want to?"
See, here's the thing. I like that on the dirty joke level, where Nickelodeon it's like a Rocco thing where get those dirty jokes in there under the censors, and
you understand though, like in context of modern day, it's like, ugh.
I still think it's coded with that old school Nickelodeon thing. Is I see that before I see the modern context. I mean,
I hear you.
I think it's just reading on today. I don't think it's something putting in the movie. But yeah, sure, I understand your point. I mean, yeah, I think we oversell the Patrick. Kind of like he's head over heels for Mindy. I like that. That's not like a whole plot line. It's like that's kind of it's a gag here. Like they bring up like,
yeah. I mean, thank God they don't actually get together by the end of the
That's
movie.
what I'm saying. They bring it up twice, really, and that's why I'm not bothered by it, I guess. And this gag here, Mr. Krabs just seeing them like, oh, he's just. So again, the writing's really smart in that we address. Okay, one, I just got a lot of course, the Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy was always a love letter to the '60s Batman show, and here we're kind of doing that. Well, unfortunately, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy were not in the movie. We do still get that homage to '60s Batman through the bat poles to the paddy wagon. You know what I mean? I love my vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
This was in the marketing all over the place, and I love this vehicle design so much. I played the game on the Nick website where you get to drive the paddy wagon.
Now, of course, the great thing about the paddy wagon is that it follows in the tradition of these NickToons movies that we've been tracking, where, of course, Rugrats had the Reptar wagon, the Wild Thornberries had like the Jeep with the sidecar.
Yeah. And of course, Jimmy Neutron, a barrage of ships and vehicles and theme park related things. Yeah, a lot of Carpati. Sorry, it's great. Yeah, I love my favorite feature, by the way, the grilled leather interior. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing. So again, this to me is why this just absolutely should have been the last thing of SpongeBob, where Plankton, he gets the Krabby Patty secret formula. That's the end. That's the last thing you can do with Plankton. He got it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not just like, hey, the adults are getting their comeuppance. Like that's like a big like game-changing thing.
Because he knows now. I mean, he knows he's made the formula at least once. I'm sure he can remember it. If not, you remember at least the one thing he couldn't replicate.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I love
just for context, I'm way behind you because I just got to the gag you were mentioning about like Mr. Krabs seeing SpongeBob and Patrick and being like, "Oh."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's not really a ton we can do about that, in all honesty.
Right. Are you hearing what's up to date?
I mean, yes. I'm just saying you're going to kind of have to be descriptive.
All right, sure. So yeah, we're at the gas station gag here.
Oh
We're
man,
meeting
oh man.
our two hit characters here. Oh god.
I love the payoff for these Hicks, Dragon. I love the ultimate, and it also serves as a good introduction to our, to one of our villains.
Yeah, on the whole, I love this Odyssey road trip idea with SpongeBob. SpongeBob's going on an Odyssey, but it's an undersea road. It's an Odyssey, but it's a road trip. And I love that idea of doing like kind of an Odyssean kind of like, hey, we're going on a journey, but it's like a really mundane journey.
Aw.
It's a road trip to the surface. That was what the original idea for the movie was, and they just kind of like, yeah, that was the simple like kind of party line idea. Okay, it's a road trip to the surface.
Which, I
This
mean,
gag
really,
is,
the movie still kind of, pays out in that way.
yeah, it does. And this county line gag still. How many seconds did we last?
Oh my god. Oh my god. It's amazing.
12 seconds. It's such a. There's a lot of Dumb and Dumber humor in this. I mean that in the
Get
best.
out
I'm
of the
talking
car,
like.
fellas.
Now I'm talking when I say Dumb and Dumber, I mean that in the best. I'm talking about the first one. Like the Fairley Brothers humor, where you'd have like these two idiots who think they're very much Patrick and SpongeBob when they're together. Their dynamic is very much Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn from Dumb and Dumber.
Sure, sure.
Where it's like one thinks the other is a genius. Where usually SpongeBob thinks Patrick's a genius, even though he's dumber than a doornail.
God.
But at the same time, again, in this moment, they think they're so clever. 12 in your face! And there's their laughing their way.
Well, they're dead.
Yep. And here, basically, what we have here in the scene, just like the whole, only for you, Perch. Anything for you, Perch. I love this, and this is what I love what Doug Lawrence is doing in this movie. He's just taking the usual Plankton performance, which is always great. And again, always links in the Krusty Krab stuff, so I'm always at home with Plankton. But what I love here is he basically in this scene where he's like doing the whole "keep the dream alive." That whole like what Mr. Krabs is frozen words were to him. I love that he's giving like an Oscar performance. Like Doug Lawrence is giving his Oscar performance as Plankton in this movie, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of Dennis the Menace, as I was earlier with the whole Mr. Wilson thing from Dennis the Menace, I do want to mention this again. The other new character we have for this movie, who is beyond awesome, also is named Dennis.
Yeah, are you at Dennis right now, Dragon? Because I just skipped.
Oh no, he's not yet. He's about to. He's like they're talking about Stubby. Oh, he says Plan Z is way ahead of you, baby. Now he's hired someone. We're about to cut the Dennis. Like right. Now,
Dragon, tell me when you see your head here.
Okay, okay, right now.
Okay, I'm synced up with you now, but it won't be for long because Amazon.
Well, he's about to rip them out. Well, he's about to rip them out, so I'll say at least you know where we're at. So, yeah. But yeah, oh my god, so much to talk about Dennis. So again, Alec
Baldwin, Dennis
is
my favorite of the three new characters.
I agree with you, and emphatically I agree with you. Dennis is awesome, man. He's awesome in every way. He's like a bounty hunter with, he's a bounty. He's a hit, not a bounty. He's a hitman with a cow. He's a hitman biker with a cowboy.
I just love the trajectory of Dennis, where it's like everywhere he goes in the movie, it's just kind of like showing it's like, yeah, that might have been a dangerous situation for SpongeBob and Patrick, but Dennis is so much more dangerous.
He's just the antithesis of SpongeBob in every way, where he's serious, he's tough, he's a killer, he's very.
I love the mustache gag when we get to it.
I have things to say about that mustache. Tiki, I have things to say about the mustaches in this movie, and we'll get there. but yeah, Alec Baldwin, he's so gifted at voice work. Because again, Boss Baby, whether they love it or hate, he's really good in that. He's good in that movie. He's great in Rise of the Guardians. Alec Baldwin has a gift for voice work. I think he really does. And
he does. I won't deny.
I'm not saying like that. And he's okay.
I do have a bit of a grudge against the Boss Baby because I think there's other animated movies that could have gotten in instead, but I digress.
And I'm with you. Despite liking Boss Baby, I'm absolutely with you on that. I just want to make that clear. But regardless, the point is Alec Baldwin, he really brings it when he does voice work these days, and even back then. And again, we'll talk more about the greatness of Dennis later on. Because now we're at the we're at the bar. We're at the Tough Tug, I think.
Something like that.
Well, I had the name. We'll get to it later. I mean, we're there now. Sorry,
And this is leading up to just batshit crazy moment number 2 with the Goofy Goober song and SpongeBob and Patrick just struggling to not sing Dragon. The animation in that moment is just so off the wall. It's just like the most sincere form of torture
And that, to me, Tiki,
for these two characters.
That's more trippy than it was with the ice cream scene earlier on.
No, I hear you. The ice cream scene is just more like it's not necessarily trippy. It's just like, oh, okay, we're gonna do some really kind of bold, out of character stuff with SpongeBob. Like SpongeBob's gonna get drunk in this movie.
So again, the timing on the gag. We're in the bathroom. We're about to do about to start. Begin the craziness that's about to unfold because now he's washing his hands. But I just love the timing when Patrick says, "Okay, I'll be the diversion." He walks up there and he just kind of stops and goes, "I'd like to make an announcement. I have to use the bathroom." Okay, now we have just this crazy sequence. Now we got this crazy sequence where again, like we're off model.
Yum.
We're off model intentionally. We're off model on purpose, and that's the thing. It's not a bad thing necessarily to be off model, folks, if it's with purpose. In this case, it's with absolute purpose to accentuate kind of again. It's a more reined in, more strategic John. It's like pulling a John Cristofalusi on purpose. That's kind of what it is.
Sure.
Oh yeah. By the way, so I can say it because I meant to say it when they were walking up to the bar here, and it was and it's a great looking scene. Just all the animation here with Rough Draft in South Korea. They also animated Kim Possible, So the Drama, the big Kim Possible TV movie, which was really well animated. And they also did an episode from season 5 of Samurai Jack. They did episode 7, the one where Jack, he goes on the journey to get his sword back.
Okay, nice.
It's the same animation studio. These guys do phenomenal work.
Yeah, just the shading in this scene, just the lighting. Oh God, here we go, Dragon. Here we go.
And again, timing is important, folks, and they did animatics especially for this. What they did is the animatics really served as a way to nail down timing, so they would be flawless as we see it before us here. And this is Tom Wilson as basically doing his Biff Tannen voice. And Tom Wilson has been a player on SpongeBob for a number of episodes. He was the Strangler. He was he was the flounder. Like the one like the flat flounder character that was the bully for SpongeBob. I mean, again, Tom Will, Biff Tannen, folks. He's just wonderful, and here he's the big tough bar owner here, trying to break him. This poor two-headed fish here.
Oh God! Oh my God! But seriously, just those designs, like Patrick's eyes melting out of his skull, like
those are album covers right there. That's what those are.
And it is just an incredibly close call, Dragon.
You're right about that. But again, I love the intensity of the lighting. It's the whole thing comes together so well. I love that they're paying attention to these things. And also what I
also really like the fact that this movie specifically makes an original earworm song that's going to annoy you, but it annoys you in the context of the plot.
Which is kind of what the original intention for the opening for SpongeBob was, where there's going to have this. Hillenburg created the SpongeBob theme song to be really annoying, and people just end up loving it. In this case, they're trying to do that more so what you're putting out there with Goofy Goober.
Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, Dragon. I love Squidward's lay down bike.
Yeah, here's where they got that from, by the way. So Roger Bumpus, the voice of Squidward, he actually rides a recumbent bicycle.
Why am I not surprised?
And they put that into this. And we saw Spielberg and Gremlins riding one of these.
Oh, God.
It's a little fun fact. I just thought maybe,
I just love the visual of him, next to the woman in the boat. Excuse me, ma'am.
Down here.
Down here.
It's great. Now, folks, look, this is the thing we see. It's a trope we see all the time. Always have a backup plan before you accuse the bad guy of his wrongdoing. Just want to make that simple appeal to the smart moviegoers out there. Just, guys, never confront the bad guy before you have the means to nail him.
Right.
Because now he's just saying, I'm going to tell on King Neptune. Oh, the stubby little paws. Just the stub. I love this. The emphasis on Plankton stubs.
Yeah, yeah.
You messed with my paycheck.
Also, I love the public radio line.
Yes.
Dragon. Also, that's a little bit of the genesis of my whole like I watch Collider. I will admit.
I listen to public radio. This bucket, I'm really enamored. There's so many things I'm enamored with in this movie, like the bucket design, like how that works, and look at that sickly fluorescent lighting that is now encompassing the scene once those buckets drop. Like it's like almost like John Carpenter. No, not John Carpenter. It's almost like the zombie movie, like Night of the Living. George Romero. It's like a George Romero lighting almost.
Uh-huh. We get some fun cameos in the scene. I like how we get Larry for a second.
Yeah, and Mrs. Puff, and I don't think we see Sandy. It's the one nitpick I have there. But Sandy makes no sense because the helmet she wears still makes no sense how that bucket would work on her.
Right.
Like, that's my one gripe with that design, I guess. But let's see. Oh yes, we have coming up. We're driving through, and again, this is kind of based. I don't know how directly this is based on. You do have dead coral reefs, which is sad. And by the way, something that is an issue in the ocean. Coral is dying because of pollution and such. So be environmentally conscious, folks. Don't unhealthily. They watch the Nemo John Michel Cousteau thing. They ramp it up to be like end of the world type stuff. It's awesome. But anyway, yeah. So we have all these. Basically, I call this sequence when SpongeBob was getting the ice cream in kind of this dead coral area with all these dead skeleton heads. It's like the homage to Man of Steel. It's very much just kind of. It's like that Superman nightmare from Man of Steel,
Right.
where it's like surrounded by all the skulls, which is like a precursor to the whole Day of the Dead thing. I'm saying Man and Batman Superman of the Day. That's not important.
The timing in this gag Dragon is absolutely impeccable. Where Patrick's like, I'm sorry, I'm kind of guessing where we are, but I just, even if I'm skipping ahead a little.
Make Maya chocolate.
Yeah. Like he's looking around. He's like seeing the skulls. He's like, wait a minute, SpongeBob.
What?
Make mine a chocolate. Oh god! Again, there's so many gags like that in this movie, Dragon, but they all just work and pay off so well.
So aside from my Man of Steel comparison, what's great here, again, I love that we're still drawing reference from SpongeBob. Well, we're kind of homaging SpongeBob's grandmother with like the elderly ice cream giver. In this,
sure.
Which is the bait part of the, I believe it's called. Oh yeah, it's a frogfish. That's what this thing's called. It's not anglerfish, folks. I know a lot of people might be thinking, hey, it's like the same principle as the anglerfish. No, it's a rock. It's a frogfish. Frogfish. It does this thing where like
now, Grandma, she gave away cookies, right? That was her whole gimmick.
Which one? You mean SpongeBob's grandma?
Yeah, SpongeBob's grandma.
Yes, Marion Ross is the Marion Ross SpongeBob grandma. She gave away cookies. Yeah, it's Thug Tug. That's what the bar was called. I was blanking beforehand. But yes, it's kind of, the ice cream thing was a new. They never had SpongeBob having like a. There was one episode where he really had a thing for ice cream. The episode of Plankton on Goo Lagoon. Remember, where it says, "That's my ice cream." That's the only time he really was a big ice cream.
Oh man,
I'm sorry. There was that in the horrible ice cream sundae. Remember the bad breath, the ugly and
oh
proud.
My god, yes. Oh god, the sundae. Oh Jesus.
So those, to my recollection, are the only two big ice cream. The big ice cream.
To be fair, like SpongeBob was way more into the disgusting sundae than he was like the usual ice cream sundae.
That's true. And again, Dennis was owning the scene previously where he punched, the Tom F. Wilson fish just right into the Titanic, making the bar go down like the Titanic. God, it's awesome. This creepy cat.
It's such a good build up to Dennis actually like interacting with SpongeBob and Patrick because you just know how dangerous he is.
Yeah, I know. Again, they're kind of framing like the Terminator almost. It's very much the Terminator.
Oh, absolutely like the Terminator for sure.
again, it's a kind of a Hitman Terminator with a cowboy theme. You know, it's like the most. It's like creating like a SpongeBob version of a Boba Fett. You know, like kind of a mixing all the other intimidating things you can have not set in space. You know, okay, so he's a bounty hunter. You know, he wears a cowboy hat. You know, you can't see his eyes. You know, he's got the bandana. You know, he's got these. He's a biker too. Just why not?
So thoughts on Mr. Whiskers Dragon?
Yeah, that was creepy, man. That's like a weird baby cat. It's like, oh man, that creeped me out. That honestly is like the out of this movie, that's the image that creeps me out most. So
And
yeah, now
this is a wonderful moment of self-realization where it's like we don't really blame SpongeBob and Patrick for wanting to give up in this moment. More so SpongeBob, I guess. Because it's just like it feels like it's such an insurmountable odd.
it is. You just have this big chasm, this big abyss, which is kind of reminiscent of you know, like the drop off from Nemo. And again, I'm not saying they took it from Nemo. I'm just saying it's an actual thing in the ocean. There's this drop off area where you have the seabed, and then you just kind of that bottom, that nothingness, that intimidating nothingness that's kind of before you, and that's kind of what they're facing here. It's the unknown, but in this case, a terrifying unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is the big kind of make or break moment, and again, it's kind of a great. It's not the low of lows because obviously that comes later, but this is sort of a. It's the realization exactly what Tiki's going on here.
Sure,
It's absolutely yeah. It's like it is. It's like I think it's the false low of lows moments. I think it's like a.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah.
It's the false low of lows moment. This to me, this is funnier than the whole like the random like Patrick kind of shrieking at SpongeBob's you know, airline shrieking at SpongeBob's award. You know,
It's the same pair of underwear, Dragon. The same pair.
Yeah.
I like the moment of SpongeBob just going off on Patrick, like after the whole movie of trying to insist that he's not a kid. You know, he's like, okay, we blow bubbles, we worship a giant peanut. Come on.
We worship a giant peanut. God, it's still funny.
Patrick running away with his pants between his ankles.
And by the way, just speaking of that gag, so again, that's I think it's a fun, dirty joke, and I want to show you how great Steven Hilberg is on SpongeBob. Is that Steven Hilberg at the time of SpongeBob? I don't know if it was around the time of the movie, but at some point during the run of SpongeBob, he was offered to do SpongeBob as an adult party cartoon along with Ren and Stimpy.
Oh God, no!
And I think again, while some people might scoff at like, you know, I think it shows a character that no, he didn't do anything. He didn't cash in on SpongeBob like that. He stuck to his guns of what the characters were. He didn't do anything like that. He didn't do, and unfortunately, SpongeBob in its worst parts after the movie did go into some adult party areas.
Yeah.
I just want to say, we always want to keep that in perspective, folks. This is a guy who really looked out for his creation. It's always something to respect. Never forget that.
To me, there's a Disney quality to SpongeBob where basically all ages can enjoy it, right? Like from 8 to 88.
Yeah, and again, it's a more marketable.
I mean, if you're 89, you're going to hate it, but if you're 88, it's going to be, you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying.
I just feel like SpongeBob has a universal appeal to it where, you know, the writing is sharp enough that the adults are going to like it, and it's just got a really fun, free-spirited nature to it that the kids are naturally going to gravitate to.
Yeah. Now here coming
so
up,
I don't know. I think Mindy's whole like kids rule. You don't need to be a man. You just got to believe in yourself. It's like, all right, Mary Sue.
I'm gonna say that I feel it's less Mary Sue. I feel it's more mandated. Like, okay, we have to have the kind of a kid message, but at the same time, we have like that undercurrent of absurdity with the mustache that's coming up right here. Where again,
also, Dragon. I love the tears. I love shooting the tears into the mouth and then. God, right there. Oh my God!
Let's for the record, we're at the mermaid magic. So it's just so you know, we're about to do. Like,
well, I'm just saying. I love the tears.
I got you. You're right. It's a great runner of like how they animated tears in so many different ways.
Again,
again, I appreciate the cleverness of that dirty joke where it's like, I guess I'm gonna have to turn you into men. And again, again, there's such a simple, absurd way, and yet you still get like a dirty joke slipped in there. So again, I think we have a good balance of the writing there, where it's she's putting the fake mustaches on with the kelp, and that gives them the basically it's the elephant, it's the feather for Dumbo effect here. It gives them like the power of positive reinforcement, and again. Basically, I would say, okay, mustache power. Ben McKenzie, come on down. Say, hey, Mindy, we have another
I also
friend.
love. I know you're a little bit. I know I'm a little bit behind you, but I love how Patrick and SpongeBob get Disney eyes when they find out they're going to be men.
Yeah. Because we're, again, there's completely missing the point here. Like, because we're invincible. I never said that.
Patrick, why didn't we just take the ladder down?
Just the realization on this never-ending fall. Again, the timing is just, it's just, again, they don't celebrate too long. It's just the timing's remarkable, folks. Good Ben McKenzie. I never got my mustache. Where's my roommate? Anyway. That's part one of my two-part Ben McKenzie joke.
And then the governor from The Walking Dead is like, me neither. They gave me a full beard, but never just the mustache.
So honestly, this trench, and especially when they first land here in this trench, it very much homages Rock Bottom. It's designed almost identically to Rock Bottom. We have that big incline.
Yes, definitely Rock Bottom. Dragon, I also am going to reference you to Yellow Submarine, specifically the Sea of Monsters segment of Yellow Submarine.
Well, I can definitely see that as actual influence on this scene, sure.
Yeah. Just in terms of, like, of course, that segment's where Ringo gets blasted out of the Yellow Submarine and has to, like, wander around this giant, as the title would imply, sea of monsters.
Now let's talk for.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for a moment, I just wanted to acknowledge I think we have great music in this movie.
I honestly kind of wish this movie was more of a musical than it is. I think it could stand to have a couple more songs.
Honestly, I think this might be my favorite musical sequence in the movie. I love Now That We're Men. It's such a delightful, jaunty tune, and it's so uplifting. It's like, they're winning over the monsters, and you're starting with the monster. It turns from the street into a monster, and they're doing like, they're winning them over now that we're men. Again, it shows the power of dancing. That's what I'm saying. It's so off the walls, yet so endearing. It's like, again, that's the hallmark of SpongeBob right there, and they're doing it just right. It's so relentlessly cheerful in a way, and again, along with it, you have that mustache confidence where it's saying, again, look at these guys. They look exactly who they are, but they think they're men. So there's they're living up, but they're still acting as their wonderful jovial selves in this moment. It's like they're who they are, but it's nice. I always felt bad for the monsters though with this ending, however, coming up where they where they accidentally insult the monsters. Yeah. Yeah, it felt bad for me because again, it's so nice, and your Shell City dead ahead. We did it, Pat. We made it past everything, even the hideous, disgusting monsters.
Oh well, gee, that's the things you get today. That's the things you get these days.
Not you guys. You guys are awesome. I would have loved it, Tiki, if just for a moment, if they just said, okay, and I just wish that like the monsters heard what he said. That's the only thing, That's what bums me out about it. It's like they didn't hear what he said. They were too bummed out. Oh, here we go, big Dennis scene. Oh my God, Dennis. That character design is great. And basically, Dennis is about to shatter their mustache illusions. But again, I love their cowardice is gone because of their mustache bravado.
Dragon, let me know when Bigger Boot comes on, all right?
I'll let you know. But right now he's just about to shatter their mustache illusions.
Oh man, and that is just that's wonderful.
Again, if we didn't love Dennis already, again we saw that he can rip people's mouths off. So again, it's a little intimidating when he does it, even though again it's like he rips off the mustaches right there. Throw you a piece of salad stuck to your lip from lunchtime, and this is a real mustache. And basically, he does what again. Mackenzie, take notes. I'm thinking to myself, Mackenzie, where are you? Wherever you are, take notes of how he does it here.
See, my mustache is growing so fast you can't help but put it in.
And it's brown too, Mackenzie. Take notes. God. Okay, it's about to come up here. So what are you going to do to us? We're getting to the step on. I'll let you know. I'm just getting ready for it. I like the subtlety in the animation here, where Dennis is kind of realizing, okay, maybe I've said too much. Without a mouth, they are conveying a lot in the eyes. If you want to, like the subtlety. Like here's a hitman. It's like, okay, maybe I've said too much.
Well, he's got some Tom Hardy acting going on, Dragon. That's what it is.
Okay, he's getting ready to be stepped on. Right, okay. He's lifting it like the spikes over their head. That's a big boot. Don't worry. It'll only hurt Eli's laughing, and now. Okay. So yes, bigger
work.
Oh. Well, they're kind of like, thank you, stranger. We revealed the Cyclops. The Cyclops is the old like 1910 or 1920s diver, the old school diver.
And like I always like to call this the Terry Gilliam giant.
I keep thinking like the Scooby-Doo like diving suit. That's what I keep thinking when you see this diver.
I mean, tell me that hand doesn't remind you of Monty Python, Dragon.
Oh, you're right. Those are vaguely Python-esque, yes. And again, this makes sense. If you were a sea creek and the illogical logic behind this, and I love me some illogical logic, where yeah, you would think that's a Cyclops. You've never seen anything like that. Mm-hmm. And again, it's the perfect mixing of live action with 2D. And it's been a long. We don't get that enough in animation. Well, done right in animation, you know.
Also, I absolutely love how freaking maniacal and diabolical this diver is over fucking googly eyes.
Yes.
God. That to me might be the laugh out loud moment of the whole movie, Dragon.
Oh boy, and now our heroes are waking up, and again, this sequence, it's a great melding of the two environments.
I feel like this is almost kind of like the Lego movie ending before the Lego movie.
And Tiki, I agree with you 100%. I see that. Yeah, it is absolutely Lego movie-esque.
Where it's like, oh, okay, now we're breaking new ground. Like, and to me, that is the reason why this movie's more celebrated than the other Nickelodeon movies, is because it truly did kind of push the barriers of the show.
So again, as I mentioned earlier, the cell line was SpongeBob going on a road trip to the surface, and there was going to be more stuff done on the surface, and obviously they took those ideas and they put it in the sponge out of water, because again, there's like there's an appeal to bring SpongeBob to the surface, but I do feel you can easily run out of ideas, because again, if he's not in the water, you kind of lose a lot of your storytelling potential, which is something I want to commend the movie for, where when we're underwater, we do remind it always bothers me when SpongeBob, especially after the movie, we lose the bubbles every time we move. It just looks like we're on the surface while we're underwater. It's like, what's the point, But but here I love that we built up this threat through SpongeBob at many points, where we had gift shops. Like Mrs. Puff's husband is he actually might be in this movie as the puffer fish that is hung from the. No, he turned into a lamp. But the point is, like, Mrs. Puff's husband was killed and taken to a gift shop, and gift shops and kind of seafood places had been established on the surface in live action in the SpongeBob series. So I love that we're finally there on the big screen. We're showing it in all its menace, and at the same time its ridiculousness. With, like, again, guys dropping their pencils into the water. With, like, this guy's big end game, his big villainous plan is to turn them into.
Alexander Clam Bell.
It's a humorous. No, I love the full line. It's like, it's a humorous diorama of Alexander Clam Bell.
God.
Okay, here we go.
I definitely think that this diver being so maniacal and over the top is like in SpongeBob and Patrick's imagination, but it works so well.
I never thought of that, Tiki. Now you bring that up. I just thought it was like just silly, but that is clever. I never thought of that.
It's like, yes, I will glue the googly eyes on the sea creatures.
Okay, before we get into this great dramatic sequence that's unfolding before us here, I just want to say with the diver, I love that we dehumanize him. He never takes the helmet off and he goes into the bathroom with the full get up on. I love that. That was a brilliant move, and it would have been a foolish decision to do anything other than that.
I agree. I agree.
So again, now we have this great dramatic scene, folks, and oh my god, this scene really is it's a great dramatic performance by Tom Kenny, SpongeBob here.
Tom Kenny going for the Emmy here.
It is. And again, well, Plankton's giving his Oscar performance, so is Tom Kenny here.
Yeah.
Shell City. Yeah, we never made it to Shell City. Shell City.
That's right, Patrick, the place we never got to.
Shell City. Okay, now you're just starting to bum me out, Patrick. Okay, but seriously, speak to this, though. This moment, I love that. There's a lot to take in here. If the movie were an hour, because I love this is at the hour mark, by the way. At the hour mark, the movie could technically end here at an hour. Be like a depressing foreign film if it ended here in an hour. Like, okay, they die. That's the thing. Because again, it ends like right on the hour mark. It's like an hour and 1 minute past. When our heroes perish and they dry up. And again, it would be a very tragic ending, but I love that, I love that in their last moments they did achieve their goal, and that's the realization. So it's an ending, it's a death with dignity.
It's a Toy Story 3 type ending, Dragon.
You're absolutely right, and by that it's also just they acknowledge that, hey, we made it, we proved our merit. So it's a death with so much dignity, like we achieved our goal, and we're dying as friends right next to each other. It's a beautiful ending for these guys, if it is the ending, which thankfully it's not. And I love that again in a kids movie. We thankfully we have our pirates, our jovial, this diehard SpongeBob fans reflected in this group of very invested pirates.
Is this truly the end of SpongeBob?
Just addressing how sad this is, and again, our parrot, our potty-esque parrot, sets him straight on that. Look
at the screen.
That's the end of SpongeBob. Come here, you. And again, it's really nice that the tears of friendship save them. And it's funny. Well, that is great, and I love that.
Honestly, like Dragon, I would like to think that is a direct, poking fun of the Pokemon movie.
Which was what I was about to say, but yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like the Pokemon movie, and I
mean, this is ripping off the Pokemon movie. This is a spoof of the Pokemon movie.
Yeah. The more absurdist version of the Pokemon.
Right.
It's a self-aware version of the Pokemon played it straight. In this case, it's a self-aware version of, oh yeah, remember that? and speaking of, again, we had this usher who's in the movie theater, and I love the yay from the pirates here. I love the triumphant music and everything. Da, da, da. It's like, yeah. I love that the usher, who we're going to see in the post-credit scene too. I love the usher is kind of Peter Pan-esque dealing with these pirates. So we do have a bit of like the Peter Pan, clap if you do believe in fairies, like bringing SpongeBob Patrick back.
Oh God.
And again, this is Let me my headcanon for SpongeBob here. I think this is what gives us this, our sea creatures coming back to life here. I'd like to think SpongeBob and Patrick, they can exist on the surface, but for a limited time. So they wouldn't instantly die, but they were put under a hot lamp, which dried them out. So if they get dried out, then they're goners. But again, you soak them in water, you get them wet again, you put them in the ocean, they'll be fine. So when they're running around the surface when they leave Shell City, that's why I can buy that, and that's why they were on that island, that one episode where they went on the surface and became live action to prove Sandy wrong.
Right.
That's always been my little headcanon for how they can survive on the surface, where usually that's been a no-no. But it's cool fun thing. Hey, mariachi band.
God.
Nothing beats a good old mariachi band. I love this. I love there's a perfect comeuppance for the diver. He gets googly eyes put on him. So again, they basically took a lot of their SpongeBob sponge out of water ideas and they put it in the sequence when they leave. And there was going to be this trippy gag where they were on the surface, and in live action, I guess somehow you were going to see um, characters who looked like SpongeBob, Patrick, Mr. Krabs, looked like all of our SpongeBob characters, but in as humans. It was going to be really weird.
Oh,
Like
that
they're
was
going to see like
trippy.
a squirrel on the surface, and they're going to think it was sandy. It was going to be strange. Just trust me.
Hmm.
And of course, here now again, while I love the opening of this movie, and I do, the whole the dream sequence, easily my favorite part of this movie is when is when we have this matchstick moment with SpongeBob and Patrick. The bag of mermaid wins. Where again we know they're gonna use the mermaid wins. They're gonna use mermaid wins. It's just like a matchstick moment, just like the very first Pixar matchstick moment.
Uh-huh.
You think you know what's gonna happen. Okay, they're gonna go home. Patrick screws it up, and it's hilarious. And then I can take you there. And David Hasselhoff, with this great music behind it, enters in the most heroic fashion. Period. And it's like completely out of left field. You'd never guess it in a million years, and it's perfect.
This is one of the best cameos of all time in any movie.
Hasselhoff saving the day is my favorite part of this movie.
And Dragon, of course, you know of the giant Hasselhoff thing that they built to film.
Tiki, do I know about it? Yes, I know about it. It is it's a roughly 750 pounds. It's 12 feet tall. They used yak hair for the hair.
Oh my god.
And they had to build it to scale.
You can't make this shit up, folks.
Every detail of Hasselhoff, that is a word. They had to create like a fleshy material so they would hold on the close-up. Like everything you see SpongeBob and Patrick when they're running up and down his body, that's the fake Hasselhoff, and that looks convincing. It's that good, right? Because again, they can't film on Hasselhoff, but you have whenever like he's on a rig. So when they do the speedboat shot, most of that is Hasselhoff. Most of the speedboat shot, like this right here from the front, that's Hasselhoff.
Uh-huh.
That's dummy Hasselhoff. That's the 12-foot long Hasselhoff.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And again, this is and what I always love. And I got it. Honestly, this is my favorite theater memory from it, just watching all this Hasselhoff stuff unfold, and just seeing this climax. Because I love that on David Hasselhoff, on this living being. Essentially, Hasselhoff becomes an inanimate object. He becomes a runaway. Like it's like a speedboat meets a train. Essentially, they're on a train.
Whoa, easy there.
And we're gonna have this fantastic action sequence coming up. And again, I like how it's intercut. By the way, I love how the Hasselhoff thing is like it's a ticking clock where they have to get down to Bikini Bottom ASAP to save Mr. Krabs. And we cut to Mindy, and again, one of the great Mindy gags. She's stalling. She's stalling for time with her father, and it's a great like. It's a high speed.
It's a fun gag, Dragon. I feel like it goes on a little too long.
But that's the point,
Maybe
though.
I'm just nitpicking.
I'm saying it's a great juxtaposition. We have this high speed, high stakes thing going on the surface. Meanwhile, we have this like, okay, so we're stalling. I gotta give Scarlett Johansson this again. Her rapport with Jeffrey Tambor in this scene is really good.
Yeah.
They probably record these lines separately. It just seems seamless the way it's kind of used. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, this action sequence with Dennis here. Now Dennis looks more menacing because he's lost the sunglasses because they were damaged from Bigger Boo. Patrick's trying to be.
Dragon, I wonder if the villain of this movie was named Dennis because of the Squidward Dennis the Menace thing.
I know they're looking for like an unthreatening name, but I would like to think that. I like to think you're right there.
I don't know.
Back there, fellas.
I could see the unthreatening name too, though. That it is a rather unthreatening name.
Because we have again the introduction of Dennis is Plankton saying he's a ruthless, bloodthirsty monster, and then we cut to Dennis. And again, like right here, this is like the big moment I'm talking about here. This train like moment where SpongeBob he jumps from one train car to the next. And it's like it's the big money. It's like we spent all the budget of the movie on this shot, even though again it's a very simple shot. It just feels like if they shot that, it would be like this. They have to get it from all sorts of angles, and he's trying to bribe Dennis. It's like trying to bribe the hitman, which is a move I'm so used to in comics, where they have all these villains double crossing each other. And again, it's such a great sequence. It really is. And by the way, the way they got Hasselhoff is just because he is a set piece in this film. Hasselhoff, his kids were big fans of SpongeBob, and what I appreciate, again, for me, it worked this way, and I imagine for everyone else. It Another reason Hasselhoff took on the role was it kind of introduced to the new generation of fans. And that's really where I really knew Hasselhoff from. He'd been around, but I kind of got to know the guy by name through this.
Uh-huh.
And again, it's kind of like how Adam West is known through Family Guy to an extent. So like he's known to a whole new generation for a role, even
For
divorced.
me, like I'm old enough to where like I do remember Baywatch being on TV, but I never like watched it. Like my mother watched it, you know. So Hasselhoff was one of the, I guess like the thing before this movie that I remember Hasselhoff from was maybe like he must have been in like some DHS shows or something like some sort of like I love the 90s or something,
Oh,
like
you're right about that. Yeah, he was in I Love the '90s, or
yeah,
yeah.
so I think before this movie he was just kind of one of the, just one of the many VH1 personalities.
Okay, two things. One, again, I love the who said anything about floating, which that runs. That's a Back to the Future reference. It's the whole saying,
Right.
we don't need roads. Now
Where
I
we're
gotta tell you.
going, we don't need
No, I
roads.
have to tell you this about Hasselhoff. And this is the best part of the Hasselhoff thing.
Okay.
Even Hillenberg, he kept the Hasselhoff thing secret as long as he could because he wanted to spring. He wanted to spring it on the writers to get the reaction. And it was a wonderful thing where he had like this big smile on his face as he basically he told him the idea, and they're all kind of like processing, and they say, "Do we have Hasselhoff?" And he has a huge smile on his face, and he says, "Nope." Basically, because again, he says it's the perfect, like he has no idea how we're going to get Hasselhoff, but it is. They all loved it so much. He's like, okay, well, it's insane, but we love it. How are we going to make it happen? Again, luckily, Hasselhoff's kids were. I think Hillenberg just kind of knew, okay, Hasselhoff's kids have got to be a fan of the show, so he's
uh-huh.
it's gonna.
Uh-huh.
But again, I just love that Steven Hillenberg he had those anime. He's like balls. It's ballsy animation moves like that jazz me out of my mind about it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. There we go. There's a happy ending, and well.
And just like let's just address the absurdity. Like the day is saved because SpongeBob and Patrick get launched between David Hasselhoff's two nipples.
Well, I was thinking his pectorals. Again, he has like such control over his pectorals. King size.
You done good, Hasselhoff. You done good.
By the way, so yeah, it's all right. I'm sorry, the Hasselhoff guy, he's already passed for me, but I love the. I always felt a little bad for Hasselhoff. They're like, oh man, he said they got fried like chicken.
Right.
But fun fact though, during I knew they were going to do this when David Hasselhoff got roasted on Comedy Central. I want to say the last clip, if not one of the clips they used, like the opening montage of stuff Hasselhoff's been in, good and bad. The last one they used was him being incinerated because again it was a roast, so he was roasted. Made sense. And by the way, Hasselhoff, he kept that. You know about this, right? He kept the giant 12-foot.
Oh God, did he? Oh man.
Well, what he did is he kept it from the production, and then he sold it at a charity auction.
Oh, okay.
For
okay.
Well, I know it cost $100,000 to make. Hasselhoff cost $100,000 to make. So I don't know how much I forget how much he got it for. What it was for charity, so whatever the amount it was for it. On it though, he kind of had second thoughts while the auction was going on. So I guess yeah. And again, this is a great build here. So we're at right now. SpongeBob's giving his big triumphant speech. And I like this kind of calling. He's kind of calling Mindy out on the whole mermaid magic, saying, "You know what? It's like he's owning what he is." And this is SpongeBob's
yeah.
Here, where again, he is saving the day. He's saving Mr. Krabs like his opening dream, but he's kind of slowly realizing, I'm not going to be a man. I'm going to be a kid because that's what whether I'm basically a man child. That's fine. I'm okay with that. It's SpongeBob's kind of speech of acceptance here.
I mean, SpongeBob is very much a man-child dragon. I feel like SpongeBob is kind of like to the 80s what Pee Wee Herman was, like the late 90s, early 2000s was SpongeBob.
Exactly. That's the perfect comparison. That's what's informed in the creation. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I love the great build-up here with the effects and everything. It builds to the Goofy Goober sequence where, again, he's calling Plankton out on being on being a bad guy who's like bad guys like to cheat, saying you cheated. Oh, I cheated. What do you think it is, a game of kickball? And of course, ultimately, like, what the blazes is going on here? And of course, SpongeBob will all be like the '80s rock effects are going on behind him. It says, and I'm a goofy goofy. It's all good. It's a great sequence.
Just Patrick with the giant fishnets.
Yeah, we blend a lot of animation here. We get 2D. We do with the claymation with the planet that turns into SpongeBob, which looks great. I love him at the visor. The visor looks great. Yeah, and of course we do have some Hendrix guitar playing coming up. But again, this old it's kind of a gutsy out of left field move again to end on like a kind of an impromptu rock concert to save everyone.
Yeah. Kind of calls back to Band Geeks in a way.
In a way, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that informed their decision. Because again, what's their most debatably successful, if not memorable, episode? Band Geeks. And yeah, we
Which
definitely want to
think that episode's slightly overrated just because the song's so good. But I don't want to. I don't want to.
Look, the point. I'm just saying it's iconic. That's all I'm saying. The point.
Yeah.
And in doing so, again, they're going to definitely try to capitalize on the movie. Again, if we're reflecting some of the best of SpongeBob, we're going to put that in there. So the magic Hendrix peanut guitar is just kind of I think we do like all the '80s moves here. He's like wearing a thong. It's just ridiculous.
God,
he's the goofy goober wizard. But yeah, again, you're right. I mean, honestly, I just feel it's the right amount of songs almost. But I imagine they'd still impress with the extra songs. They actually have one song that plays in the credit that they made a whole episode out of. Best day ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which I gotta tell you, I didn't know that. I just thought because I never really.
Dragon, I have things to say about practically every song that plays in the credits. Believe me, the credit songs that's an eclectic mix of artists right there.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of a little nice moment here between your father and daughter. Like, here you go, Daddy. Here's your helmet back. It's nice. And they had I don't know why I keep doing that because I think I had that thing earlier I was mentioning, but Plankton. It's a perfect comeuppance for Plankton right here, where he gets trampled by everyone. Where again, initially he gets stepped on. He was always getting stepped on. It's the perfect comeuppance for a guy who's done all this bad stuff to Mr. Krabs and King Neptune. Institution for the criminally tiny. I love that. He's saying it was a joke. He's just trying to write it off like, hey, it was a joke. I didn't mean it. Yeah.
Okay, you know one of the weird things that I noticed watching this movie, Dragon?
What?
Every time Sandy or Mrs. Puff appears, the other also appears.
That might be them just trying to make up for the lack of doing stuff with them.
I'm sure it is. It's just kind of like it's one of those things you can track. Like they have like 3 or 4 moments throughout the movie, but every moment that happens, it's like they always come like one right after the other.
This real boy gag, it's always been kind of weird. Yeah, it just turns into a real boy for a moment. I love that. I didn't catch this until I always heard ending, but I always thought it was like, okay, it's like the ending on the dial. But in this case, it's ending as, I think it's a fourth wall gag where Neptune says, oh, that's the real boy ending. I think what he means is that's the ending of the movie. It's like, okay, there's the Pinocchio ending. We got to get to the Unfrozen ending, which is, yeah, it's funny. Of course, SpongeBob just hanging there and Patrick still having the giant legs. It's, But you know what? It's really nice. And again, Tambor, it just fills me with delight, Tiki. And again, it's not really based on any really good reason, but I love hearing Jeffrey Tambor. He's a really well-spoken actor. I love hearing him paying SpongeBob such a nice compliment, saying, he's brave, courageous. Embrace him, Krabs. Go now, Krabs. Embrace him. It's like it's so majestic almost. It's so kind of regal and majestic here in Tambor. Go on about SpongeBob like that. And again, it's always nice to see Mr. Krabs do the right thing here, and he's just like, SpongeBob, I'm going to do something I should have done, 6 days ago.
Yeah.
course, we have a fun subversion of the usual ending, where again it seems like SpongeBob might be on a path of like, I don't need to become manager. He accepted who he is, but no,
It's like,
heck
nope.
yeah, I want to be manager, which makes it for
Which it makes sense because, like, at the end of the day, like, he was the better fit for the position to begin with.
yeah. Again, he loves the job, seniority, schmeniority. He wants this guy deserves the job.
Like, again, I go back to Squidward's just complete disinterest when Mr. Krabs is trying to trade him, just like, yawn.
I love this, and I don't know how, but I miss this. A SpongeBob's hat. I love that it's a giant. I love it's a bigger hat that says manager on it. I love that for all, and he's doing all the same jobs, and he's just more subservient, Mr. Krabs, than ever before. But I love this. While he's like, basically, he took a downgrade with the manager job. I love that he is. He's. This is where it's so sweet. This makes it like a perfect ending for SpongeBob. Period. Even in the credits, is that he downgraded for a job, essentially doing all the grunt work, and it's the worst job for him. But he's looking at it as like the best thing ever. He's happier than he's ever been. He's gotten everything he's wanted. He's cemented in the Krusty Krab. He's delighted. That's what's the ending that SpongeBob deserves.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
It is really moving. It's nice.
Okay, so let's talk about the song choices for the credits really quick. So we're getting Ocean Man by Ween, which is, of course, a great sort of like, early 2000s staple that fits really well with this. And then Dragon, the next song on the credits is actually going to be a song by the Flaming Lips that's written specifically for this movie. I believe it's called something like SpongeBob and Patrick. I don't have it off the top of my head. It'll play in a second, but it's funny to mention that a band like the Flaming Lips that's way out there. Like I'm sure you wouldn't really get into them all that much, Dragon, but they're they're a very psychedelic band. And to write a song exclusively for the SpongeBob movie, I feel is pretty funny.
Fun fact, just because it passed in the credits,
SpongeBob and Patrick confront the psychic wall of energy. That's it. That's the one.
Gotcha. Jill Talley, she does the voice of Karen, Plankton's computer wife, and Jill Talley, she in real life is married to Tom Kenny, and they I don't know if they met on this, but I know they worked together on Mr. Show with Bob Odenkirk. That's where they did a lot of sketches together. So it's kind of a little fun fact there for you.
Nice.
You're going to see a tribute to him, I believe, at the very end, just to make sure we get it in case we want to do any wrap-up talk towards the end. I just want to say, Jules Engel. Jules Engel, he gets a little dedicated to the memory of Jules Engel, who was Steve Hillenburg's. Steve Hillenburg went to CalArts, and his mentor was Jules Engel. And it very much had, Brad Bird, of course, Frank Thomas, Ollie Johnson. It's always nice to pay tribute to your mentors. And I really thought it was, it's nice to kind of pay tribute to Engel there with Hildenberg. So that's nice. I guess a song, again, I already mentioned Best Day Ever. So again, it's the fact that we kind of repurposed that because, again, it was such a big event. They kind of squeezed an extra episode out of it. Like, hey, let's use the Best Day Ever. And we'll make that into an episode of SpongeBob for like.
So we have a Ween song, we have a Flaming Lip song, and we have a Wilco song. Dragon, this is my iPod from my college years.
I believe that.
I guess we should just get to final thoughts, just to make sure they don't coincide with the post credits.
Yeah, sure. You start us off.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say that hasn't already been said. I just think this, there's a reason why this has kind of gotten itself a fair legacy over the years. I do feel just kind of to give some final thoughts on NickToons Movie Month in general. I still feel like more Nickelodeon movies should be given their proper time in the sun, especially the Wild Thornberrys movie. The Wild Thornberrys movie, Dragon, was sort of my main takeaway of the month, where that was like, where that just surprised me with just how great it was. Don't get me wrong, the Wild Thornberrys movie has flaws, but it just surprised me with, just overall the level of quality that was in that thing. But the SpongeBob movie is, what can be said about it? It expands the world. It's a perfect ending for the character. It's just got just a barrage of surreal imagery and gags, and it takes risks. It's got high stakes. I mean, it's a perfect summation of the show, Dragon. I feel like this is sort of like the ultimate, like it's a blend of like the Peanuts movie style, like throwing everything in the kitchen sink in there, with also a little bit of like, you know, like the epic culmination to the series. So it really is just everything we could have asked for.
Sure. For me, you know, it's probably the best of the theatrical Nicktoon movies. You know, out of all the ones that are linked to shows, I think it's yeah, I think it's the best. Don't get me wrong. Again, Wild Thornberrys, it's very well made. I'm just saying.
But this is better than Wild Thornberrys, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, I know I won that debate, but like, you know,
honestly,
debate.
I enjoy it. I'm saying this is the most enjoyable for me. You know, again, whether it's like like story wise, Thornberry might have a few things over, but on the whole, I think they had the far better, better and memorable experience with SpongeBob.
Yeah,
you know, it captures the show, the humor, and advances the story in a way you want it to. It's a great ending for the series. It's silly. It's so well animated. It blends. It blends styles very naturally. It blends the style of SpongeBob and style of animation, style of humor. It blends all of that so naturally, so well. And again, basically, I guess the way to put it is that it embodies the best of early SpongeBob, and I think it's the highest compliment. Again, SpongeBob, while it is around, and while it is kind of a $1 billion industry for Nicktoon, for Nickelodeon, again, just looking at its earliest stages, where it's good storytelling, it's wholesome, it's wholesome. While
I feel like people are going to look back on early SpongeBob the same way that people look back on Looney Tunes, for God's sakes.
In many respects, yes, and you're not wrong about that. Yeah, it embodies just
it's comedy to be studied, Dragon.
I think you're right about that. Tiki says a great analogy. Yes, it is comedy to be studied. It is it's sort of Looney Tunes for kind of the Nick generation, like kind of advancing from from going to like from the '90s to the early 2000s. It is very it's storytelling to be appreciated. It's clever yet wholesome yet not pigeonholed. You know. So again, I can't say enough nice things about this movie. We'll be going on forever. We got a wonderful little post-credit tag coming up here. But again, good time with it. And this is definitely the highlight of Nicktoons movie month for me. And again, out of all of them, probably my favorite still is out of all the Nicktoons.
I will say the Wild Thornberrys movie was the biggest surprise with how well it held up. But yeah, this is definitely the quality. Like this, quality-wise, this is clearly the best, I think.
Right.
Okay.
We have this. We have our Peter Pan-esque Usher, and I love it.
I love how it's like she has to ask twice, Dragon, but by asking twice, that gets to them. That gets to them.
I love that the pirates are remarking on David Hasselhoff before she arrives.
God.
Yeah, and she's awfully brave. And I love how satisfied she is there, and like the pirate's like, okay, they're not putting up a fight after the initial drawing of the blade. And it's like, dude, she's real proud of herself. It feels like Peter Pan triumphing over the pirate captain. It's nice. Yeah, it's a feel good feeling even at the very end. So again, great time movie, folks.
Okay, folks. All right, Dragon. Man, oh man, that'll about do it. Did you have a good time on Nicktoons Movie Month, Dragon? Do you think this was a worthy endeavor?
Yes. It was a great time. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I had a blast, folks, and of course we'll be back.
A Nicktoon blast.
Yes. We'll be back sometime. We still don't have the official timeline in place yet for when we're going to do another one of these. But suffice to say, it'll be kind of sequel focused. We'll be taking a look at stuff like, the Rugrats in Paris, Rugrats Go Wild, Sponge Out of Water, and Barnyard.
Yeah, Tiki, you're kind of showing the sausage, how the sausage is made here.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay.
Don't worry, folks. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I need to pull up the intro again.
We're all human, folks. Okay.
Right. Oh boy.
Oh, but yeah, we got a good lineup coming up. Most definitely. When we get to Barnyard, those forewarning, it will not be a commentary because the one movie the one Nicktoon.
How? Just how?
Again, this movie. Don't get me wrong, folks. We had a really great commentary with SpongeBob here, but seriously, SpongeBob has so many great bonus features on this DVD here. Yet no commentary. Just where's the justice? I ask you, where's the justice? Anyway, that's why we're here. Okay.
Well, that's all for now, folks. Join us next time as we make like a sponge and absorb more awesome Nicktoons nostalgia on
Nicktoons
Movie Month. Nick. Nickelodeon. I listen to public radio.